Welcome back to Total Shock Fiction, the #1 truth channel on YouTube in 2025. Anybody tuning into this video, I would like to invite you to join the Hotep Initiative. I'm not gonna directly address it. Just go to the video on my channel entitled, I invite you to join the Hotep Initiative. I like to keep things pretty automated without using AI. There's a few things I want to discuss right now. I want to talk to you about human technology. I want to talk to you about organic intelligence. I want to talk to you about truth. In the age of truth, the idiot shall be revealed to you with no clothes. Those who spew lies, distrust, deceit, dissension among the flock of the world, they will be exposed to you. In the age of truth, a liar can tell no lie. They can tell no lie. In the age of truth, all lies are incinerated by the inferno of Armageddon. The apocalypse does not mean the end of the world. There's a book. I would like you to read this book. It's called The Book of Enoch. This is a copy that I got off Amazon. It's brown with orange writing. I really like the cover. I really like the design. Now, I did have a little trouble trying to find a proper Book of Enoch. I was just going to get an Ethiopian Bible. The Ethiopian Bible, used by the Rastas, read by our Honorable Prophet, Haile Selassie, Emperor of Ethiopia, the living embodiment of eternal Jah. The divine emperor, Haile Selassie, our immense prophet, prophet of the immense, royal bloodline of the king, descendant of Queen Sheba and King Solomon. I'm talking Solomon's temple. I'm talking the most ancient of bloodlines out of prehistoric Africa before the fall of Kemet, dating back to Old Kush. The Ethiopian Bible has books that are not included in your King James Version, but they are true texts of the gospel. They are true texts. These are not fictionalized texts. The academia will tell you that the lost books of the Bible included in the Ethiopian Bible are not true text of the Bible. That is false. That is rhetoric. Book of Jasher is one. The book of Adam and Eve. You've read Genesis, but have you read the book of Adam and Eve? There is an entire fucking book showing you Adam and Eve, not just saying that they ate from the fruit of the tree of forbidden knowledge, showing you, telling you the actual scene-by-scene story of them eating the fucking fruit, God banishing them from out of the fucking Garden of Eden. It walks you through as God is creating the world around them. He cast them into darkness at first. Then he created the day and the night. Every time something would happen, they would kill themselves and throw themselves off a cliff. And God would have to bring them back to life and say, you stupid motherfuckers. I'm trying to teach you some shit because y'all did what I told you not to do. And then also the fucking serpent, Satan, would come, or he would send his zealots to go after them and convince them it's trickery, to tell them, oh, God's you're fucked now. God, he forsake you. And then they jump off a cliff and kill themselves, and God will have to bring them back. He said, what? Did I tell you I forsake you, motherfuckers? He said, I told you, you got to go through these struggles. You got to go through these obstacles. You got to triumph over falsehoods. This is in the book of Adam and Eve. but it's not in your King James Bible. What you have to understand is you're reading the Bible, but you're reading the quote unquote King James Version. The King James Version. That's what it says on a lot of Bibles. It says the King James Version. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you get a cover of a song, it says the James Brown edition, where it's James Brown singing it. I mean, he pretty much created every song, so it's really not ever him doing a cover. But I just wanted to drop James Brown's name because I said King James. But you know what I mean. So when when someone covers James Brown, it's gonna say the Weekend edition or whatever the fuck. I mean, he'd probably never pick up a James Brown record, but who knows? Maybe. But anyway, we're getting away here. It says the King James Version, so that's the version of King James. Who the fuck is King James? I don't even know who the fuck that is. And I'm not like a super expert on every single book. I haven't just straight up read the whole Bible or the King James Bible like in full. Like I used to go to church, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of the cheat code to how to hack the Bible on some human technology shit is you can hack the Bible if you go to church and get sermons. Because the pastor, he's coming in with Book of Matthew, Book of David, you know what I'm saying? Book of Gideon. My favorite sermon, my pastor, Pastor Will, be at the More Life Worship Center here in Sacramento, California, in Del Paso Heights. My favorite sermon was the Gideon, story of Gideon. Gideon was like a no one, pretty much. He was like a nobody. Like in the modern day times, he'd be like an otaku, a fucking hikikomori incel, just living in his basement type shit. Like someone no one gives a fuck about. And he wasn't strong. He wasn't an athlete. He wasn't a champion. He wasn't a warrior. He wasn't a soldier. But he was. He was all those things and more. In his heart, he was already a warrior. He was already a soldier, a soul of Jah. God said, I want you to strike down the pillars of Rome. I think it was Rome. I don't know if it was Rome or Babylon or what city it was. It was some ancient city ruled by the fascist regime, so it'd be the equivalent of a modern day Rome. And, God sent him through to just chop down those pillars, Gideon means cutter of trees, cutting down the falsehoods, cutting down the truth. I mean, the falsehoods that conceal the truth. So, as I was saying, there's a lot of books excluded from the King James Bible. You know what I mean? Book of Enoch being one of them. You need to get this book. You need to read this book. If you're gonna learn any kind of mysticism or any kind of esoteric shit, you need to fuck with the Book of Enoch. There's even a subcategory of mystic forces or occult magic that's Enochian angel magic, based on the mythology contained in this book, this text. And it's not that long. Like, look how it's not that many pages. Like, you could read this. You read more Instagram captions in 2 weeks than there is in this book. That's why you got brain rot. That brings me to today's topic. Books presented by the Underground Village, the Book of Enoch. You can get your copy on Amazon. No, we are not a sponsor, but we support this text. So, human technology. A lot of people got depression. A lot of people got anxiety. A lot of people got different issues. They're on antidepressants. Your doctors are giving you prescriptions. You're on medications consistently based on mental struggles. We need to redefine mental health. When we say mental health, people assume it means you are crazy because you have a syndrome or a disorder that has been diagnosed. That's mental health. And basically, when in the academia, when they say mental health, what they're saying is to not be crazy or to be crazy. And what they tell you is, in order to not be crazy, you need to go sit down with a complete stranger who got a fucking degree from a university, and you need to tell them all your deepest, darkest secrets, and that's how you'll not be crazy. I wish I had a cigarette to spark right now. That was one of those light up moments. You know what I'm saying? So, mental health just means the health of your mind. The same way we talk about physical fitness, your mind must be fit. You must strengthen your mind and fortify your mind against the anxieties and struggles of life, especially in a fascist regime-based society like we live in the United States, and it's not exclusive to the United States. The fascist regimes and super conglomerates that control our world. You think you live in a peaceful time or a peaceful place. You're under a constant state of war, and I think you should realize that. Everything is a war for your mind. Everything you see on your phone, everything you see on your fucking streaming, when you're going outside, the brands. There was this one movie I seen one time. I forget what this shit was called, but I remember this shit. And it was about this guy who started seeing, as it was kind of like the movie They Live, the John Carpenter flick, the old school one where he puts on the They Live glasses. Where's my They Live glasses? I had some They Live glasses out here. I don't know what happened to these motherfuckers. Man, I must have took those shits inside or something. But anyway, he had the They Live glasses on, you know, and he could start seeing motherfuckers are really aliens. So in this movie, the guy's walking around, and when he looks at, like, the Nike logo on, like, a billboard, he sees, like, these floating entities, like, connected to him. And, like, every single person has little floating entities connected to him, kind of like the little clouds in, like, a comic book when someone's thinking something and they got a little float cloud. It's like these little entities, and it's also kind of like Donnie Darko with the what are those called? The vectors that come out of his chest, and it goes into the TV, and he's, like, following the fucking shift in the timeline. It was like that, and it was showing how every fucking brand, every logo is a sigil. I want you to Wikipedia search chaos magic and go down the rabbit hole and click on the different things it says. You got sigils, you got servitors, and you got egregores. These are 3 different types of chaos magic. Sigil is a symbol or an intention. It's really, a symbol could be anything. It could be an object, or it can merely be an idea that you are fortifying in your mind. You're sigilizing it. You're saying, this is a sigil, right? It's like an intention for manifestation that you're going to transmute through the process of alchemy by way of advanced metaphysics, which is a occult science system. You know, the true science of existence is metaphysics, that which is beyond physics, that which is beyond physical matter, the way to alter physical matter through psychological perception. And the sigil is the symbol from which the spell is cast. A sigil grows with power the more you affirm to it. The same way you pray to God, you affirm to the sigil with some kind of ritual. It could be an affirmation, a mental mantra. It could be just a meditation. It could be just thinking about it multiple times throughout the day. It could be anything you want, any kind of action. But there must be an action to transmute. When they say law of manifestation, they say it's law of attraction. People say, well, you can't just sit and wish for some shit to happen to you and not do anything about it. In a way, you can. But the intention you have, you must have a placeholder action to fulfill that transmutation to get you to the thing you're trying to do if you don't have a way to actually do it yet. But you should be doing things to improve yourself and things to prepare you for whatever it is that you're trying to get. Otherwise, when you get it, you won't be able to do it. You won't be able to receive it. So you got to be actively improving, and then you have the sigil. And then as a sigil grows in power and strength, it becomes a stronger version of itself called a servitor. And the servitor is the point at which the sigil becomes a thought form that's independent of you. So it's actually its own little thought bubble energy form that's kind of floating, that it's chained to you because you created it, but it's kind of floating, and it kind of casts this glow over you type shit. And that's the servitor. Then the servitor, as you learn to embody the servitor, a transmutation occurs. This is the point of transmutation. Before you can perform a transmutation, you must build up the sigil through manifestation, through affirmation. Really, it's through affirmation because you haven't got to the manifestation part yet. Most people stop at affirmation so they can't reach manifestation. The affirmation creates a servitor from a sigil. The sigil grows and becomes a servitor that's attached to you, but it's on its own as well. It's enough. Basically, what you're doing is you're storing energy outside of yourself and you're creating your own little miniature sun, like to carry around with you. Because you can only generate so much energy in your body at a time without being overloaded. So what you're doing with the sigil is the energy that you're absorbing, you're putting it in the sigil. The sigil can store a certain amount of it like a battery. Some will be cast off like when you spill water from a rag. Some will be cast off, but a portion of it will be captured in the bowl of light. That is the sigil. And eventually that bowl will be filled up enough that you'll have your own, river of flowing energy between you and the servitor, The water, it's a current of water flowing back and forth and back and forth. You have to stabilize your aura to a frequency of density to where you're able to take the servitor and put it inside yourself, and then what happens is the energy that typically you would overload and it spills out, because the servitor has now been infused inside of you through your Kundalini network energy grid, you're able to charge up with more energy. More energy is able to store without casting off. You become a stronger sponge. You're able to absorb more and retain it. Some will still be cast off, of course, but you can hold more than you would typically if you did not have a servitor. Servitors are like armor. They're an outer shield. They're like an energy barrier. It's a way to strengthen your aura. Chaos doesn't mean necessarily bad. Chaos means primordial. There's a show on Netflix called American Primeval. Primeval, similar to primordial. It means like dawn of existence, dawn of time, like ancient beyond ancient. That's what that whole show is about. I was going to do a review about it, but it's not that important to do a whole review about it. It's just they wanted to show you the ingredients of America. And what they showed you is the ingredients of America is genocide and the use of weaponized religion. That's what they showed you on that show. So chaos energy, which is the same as melanin, concentrated dark matter, the Dracula particles, 666, 6 neutrons, 6 protons, and 6 electrons. Excuse me, let me say that again. 6 neutrons, 6 protons, and 6 electrons for the people at home. That is the Dracula particle. That is one molecular structure of concentrated dark matter, aka melanin, which is what all of the known universe is made out of, or variations of it. A small percentage is a variation of melanin. Most of the universe is all just dark matter, because it's all perception. So once you adopt the servitor as a persona, now there's a shift where the servitor must become your persona. You typically hear about personas with musicians and famous people. You do not have to be famous or a musician to have a persona. I'm not into that whole Freud shit, but in the Freudian concepts, because I did screenwriting, turns out everyone in screenwriting just studies Freud. Maybe that's why Hollywood movies suck. Freud says there's a version of you that's the true version of yourself, but because you take so much shit from society every day, it's dormant, and you become a bitchified false version of yourself. This is what I call the false identity matrix. That much I can agree with Freud on. You have a false identity matrix. Most people exist in their false identity matrix, not their true self. So, if you create a sigil, you can build up a servitor, and then if you adopt the servitor as your persona, you can personify yourself as your true self. You might not, change what you call yourself or something like that. Really, it should be more true to who you really are. But you might, change up your style. You might do a little looks maxing, or, you might get into fitness. It depends on what you want for your life. It depends on what your sigil is. It isn't one, universal rule. It depends on what your sigil is. Can you rule the immense? It's ruling the immense spectrum of existence. So if you can, and you can adopt the servitor as a persona and become personified by it, your energy aura becomes a vast, extending light. It can extend for miles and miles and miles. You can fucking encompass an entire continent with your servitor, because once you adopt a servitor as a persona, every person you come into contact with is illuminated by your divine light. They are illuminated by your servitor. Your sigil passes from you to them. That's how sigil works. So see, first, a sigil is just an idea that you're affirming, or an object. It's a symbol, like a logo, Nike. And then the affirmation of the servitor is just do it. Just do it, just do it, just do it, just do it, just do it. To where when niggas see a Nike swoosh, they know it's called a Nike swoosh. That's part of the sigil, the name of it. And then they also know the philosophy of it is just do it, just do it, just do it, just do it. The servitor was Michael Jordan and the Jordans, Air Jordans. Michael Jordan's achievements in the NBA, which is its own sigil, empowers Nike as a servitor, and then Nike works as a servitor to further reinforce the NBA. It's a retroactive transmutation. They're doing a double sigil on you, getting you to think clown shoes are cool. That's word to Bobby Hemmick, master of the occult. So then, at the point that your servitor begins to spread to other people, and that they are adopting your sigil as their own, putting on your Nikes, saying, just do it, in their mind, each person, they become a servitor of your sigil, not a servitor of you. That's when you're a fucking cult leader. I don't fuck with that cult shit. It's a similar phenomenon. That's why they call it cult followings. But it's not these people are under your control. You might have influence over these people depending on your platform. You actually do. So really, you should have a responsibility if you create a sigil strong enough to become an egregore or an egregore. If your egregore gets strong enough to become a cult following, you have a responsibility over the people who adopt your sigil, because each person that adopts your sigil becomes a servitor. They become a servitor of your fucking sigil. And as a servitor of your sigil, it's then your responsibility to govern not them. No, not them. You must govern the sigil, because the sigil is the law. The sigil is the moral law. It's the rule of the bone. Everybody chooses their own rule of the bone. Russell Banks. Jaw rules. The bone rules. It's up to you. That's the rule of the bone. The rule of the bone is the tribal law. It's the law. It's the tribal fucking law. That's the rule of the bone, the tribal fucking law, the crossbones. And when you choose your rule of the bone, your sigil, it's up to you whether or not you live by it. It's up to you. Do you obey your own sigil or do you not? If you obey your sigil and you stand on it, the principle of it, the philosophy of it, the ideology of it, and you're in your proper persona as a servitor, then you govern the egregore, which is the collective of everyone else who has adopted your sigil. But if you negate your own sigil, go against it, given to someone else's egregore, you become a servitor to them. And some egregores are malevolent. They have negative frequencies, negative vibrations. And if you serve a negative egregore, you become a negative servitor, which I call zealots. You don't want to be a zealot. Why? Let me explain. A zealot is somebody whose mental capacity, which includes your physics, your energy, your emotions, your mind, your spirit, your soul, you become subject to the ruler of the egregore you're under, because you're a servitor to them instead of to yourself, which makes you a zealot. You can be used against other people as a zealot. You can pass on sigils through fear, through acts of violence, through any kind of bad shit you can do in the world. Might be through being a fucking CEO, making millions of fucking dollars off of a pharmaceutical company that's killing billions around the world. You're a fucking servitor to a dark egregore. Your egregore is real dark. That's what the title should be. How dark is your egregore, nigga? Do you live under someone else's egregore, or did you create your own? And anybody with a cult following, anybody who's gone viral, anybody who has become a master of the immense and what they do through law of manifestation, through law of detachment, it's because they invested in a sigil. They created a sigil for themselves that they invested in. Some people call that a career. Some people call that a passion. Some people call that a mission. Some people call that a duty. Your sigil that you reinforce it can become a servitor that you can use to serve yourself by adopting it as a persona. And the goal is merely to become a persona. That is the goal of using chaos magic. If your goal is to get something, you will likely be compromised by a stronger egregore because you do not rule your own immense. You will likely be compromised. What happens then is you create a sigil, you affirm it, you adopt the servitor, you become a persona. But then because your aim is not to become a persona, your aim is to get something. Once you get to an elevated position based on your persona, a stronger egregore of a dark malevolence will then buy you out, which is called selling out. They will buy you out and get you to serve their egregore over yours. You will ally your sigil to them. That's called a brand sponsorship deal. You just adopted someone's dark egregore to your sigil. Now your sigil, you've negated the ability of your servitor to be a persona. That's called cloning. You've been cloned. Well, congratulations. They cloned you, Tyrone. You've been cloned. That $100 million, you've been cloned. They just cloned you. What else is there to be said?
Total shock entertainment.